Welcome in to the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast, the official podcast of your New Orleans Pelicans. A podcast dedicated to everything you need to know about the squad. Hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and those who cover the NBA on a daily basis. It's time to flock up. The New Orleans Pelicans Podcast starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast, your official podcast of the New Orleans Pelicans. Jim Eichenhofer, Gus Kattengell with you here on the eve before Thanksgiving. Jim, I'm thankful for you. There we go.
Thankful for you as well, Gus.
I had to say it. It's written in front of me, part of my script.
It's in there. It's in mine, too.
Part of the contract. You know, it was nice. How thankful are we to be able to see Dejounte Murray go through practice yesterday? The expectation is he plays tonight against the Toronto Raptors.
It's awesome to have him back. I mean, if you go by what happened in the opening game, it felt like the tone was set, and then it was ripped away from us immediately with him having a broken hand. So I'd like to think that I have a separate standings in my head, which is Pelicans' record with Dejounte Murray this season, and right now they're 1-0 in that.
Yeah, and look, and obviously it was tough to get the season started in more ways than one, which we didn't know about. He let in a little bit as to just how tough it was at the start of the season.
I mean, first and foremost, it was tough. I appreciate the Pelicans leaving a lot of stuff private during that. Before the first game, my mom, she had a stroke, so it was tough to, leave and go deal with that. And then as she got better, to come back and, she wanted me to come play. As she got better, she wanted me to come play. So I came back the first game, and I think it was just God, like, nah, you need to stay with your mom, so it was a lot going on to it, man, a lot. The injury comes with the game. I was more concerned about my mother. That was my priority because I know how much I work, how much I take care of my body. So I wasn't really worried about, myself as far as recovering and all those different things. But, it's been a long 4 or 5 weeks. I'm excited. My mom's great. I'm healthy. I'm ready to go, ready to, help this team compete, at a high level every single night. So, that's really that.
Obviously being injured and starting the season the way he did, Dejounte lets us in on how he handled it mentally.
I mean, I've been through so much, man. I'm numb to a lot. I understand my position. I believe in God. So, over time, as I mature, grow up, like I said, I believe in God. So, things happen for a reason. I pretty much take care of my mental, being around my family, my kids, so that's important. And like this, doing what I love to do, that was the tough part. Obviously, like I said, my mother, and then being away from basketball, it just was 2 lessons back and forth. But like I said, man, everything happens for a reason. I'm excited, and that's that.
Head coach Willie Green on how he's seen Dejounte Murray lead off the court as well as on the court.
He's pulling guys aside, having brief conversations with them, telling them what they need to do, and then he'll have moments where he speaks up in front of the whole group. And I can see throughout the course of the season, Dejounte having more moments where he's just talking to his group about what we're doing well and the things that we can continue to progress in.
So there you go, Jim. It seems like Dejounte's in a good place, and more importantly, he is ready to play basketball.
Now I'm ready to hoop, play for my mother. She's going to be watching. She's doing well. And then obviously play for the Pelicans, I'm ready to compete, bring that winning spirit, no excuses. I don't care who's down. I don't care how many games we lost. I just know every time I step on the floor, I feel like, we can win games. That's just my mentality, and I feel like it can help carry over to a lot of guys. And that's it, just go out and take it one game at a time. And, the most important thing is trying to get healthy, But at the end of the day, it's next man up in this league. I'm going to forever stand by that. If guys is out, that means there's guys that need to step up.
So there you go, Jim. You like that?
What time is tip-off, Gus? Let's go.
I hear you. That is somebody that is going to get a lot of people excited. So for more on Dejounte Murray, Elfrid Payton, and Yves Missi, we bring in Mr. John DeShazier, our guest today on the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast. All right, time now to welcome in Mr. John DeShazier, our guest for this morning. John, good morning to you. How are you?
Everything's good. How about you? How about you guys?
Thanksgiving week, man. We're going to get into some basketball topics here. I know he's going to grill you. Some inside Pels info. But what are you thankful for, man, this week?
Of course, health and family. Got a lot of family in town. 20 to 25 people are going to be at the house on Thanksgiving
20 to 25.
Yeah, we've it's grown. We've started to do it big, and I think this is the fourth consecutive Thanksgiving that my family has come basically from Georgia, and my wife's family has come from Tennessee or wherever, and they've come to the house in Harvey. So, yeah, we got a lot of people coming, and we are going to feast. Is what we're going to do.
I love that. I know Jim has family coming.
I have family coming for Christmas, but not for Thanksgiving. I thought 5 people for Christmas was a lot of people coming in from out of town. So, man, I have nothing to worry about compared to 20 to 25. That's
it's one of you love to see them come, and then you love to see him go. But I'm really glad they're coming, though.
Yeah, along those lines, you missed a conversation earlier in the week I had with Jim where he strategically said he's going to stay in the size house that he's at right now to make sure that more family can't come in and stay over.
No, well, I mean, that's a strategic thing against his family, and, I guess that says something about Jim and his family.
Now, but do y'all have a favorite dish? Like, I mean, obviously, I think of turkey, I think of Thanksgiving stuff, but everybody has a thing. Like, for us, my dad makes a gumbo, who he took over from my aunt a while back, and that's just something I always think of. I know it's, everyone has a dish, I guess you think of. Is there a dish for Thanksgiving?
For me? No. I mean, I'm kind of versatile, so I might do, my sister does wonderful collard greens. So I might, I'll do that, but I'll also do, we've got somebody making crawfish dressing. So that's pretty good. Whether it's, the stuffed chickens or the maybe a fried turkey, because we're not going to have a fried turkey this year because my fryer was not solidified in being in town. So by the time he decided he was going to be in town, then we had already made other accommodations with the Popeyes turkey, which is fantastic, folks.
I've never had it. Is it good?
The Popeyes turkey is fantastic.
I've never had a fried turkey.
Yeah, the fried turkey is fantastic too. Well, it depends on who the fryer is. But the Popeyes turkey is kind of hard to mess up because you're doing it in the oven and you follow directions, and it is going to be.
Oh, really? So you grab it, you throw it in the oven. See, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you grab it, it's frozen out. Of course, you got to thaw it out and all that kind of good stuff. But I mean, you put it in the oven and
tastes like Popeyes.
You let it do. No, it tastes fantastic. It's already injected. It's already seasoned. It's already. All you got to do is take it out of the wrappings, put it in, and eat when it's done. So easy peasy. So we'll do that, and like I said, I'm not really a favorite on much of anything. I'll nibble around on a little bit of everything. My biggest goal is actually having everything out of the house by the end of the holidays. all the extra food.
Okay.
It's got to go somewhere, and I hate to have to throw it in the trash because I'm one of those 2 days leftover max kind of people. Maybe 2, and 2 is stretching it for me. But if I do it the next day, I'm pretty much done with it. So I kind of want everybody to overeat and take whatever they want with them.
Okay.
I don't have anything really that interesting either. I feel like I'm still a northerner. I don't have the gumbo, curveball. I don't have the other stuff that's unique to this area. But I do feel like I'm a little disappointed if I go somewhere and they don't have mac and cheese on Thanksgiving. So that's the only thing I'll throw in there.
So you're the side person. You got to have a certain side. See, we do the sweet potatoes. My dad puts pecans in there with some apples, and it becomes candied and everything, and marshmallows for the kids.
Oh, yeah.
We eat good.
Yeah,
you mean pecan?
That's a real production.
See, that's the thing. Pecan. I mean, I love
I think it's when the South is pecan, I think. And in the North,
really?
I think it's pecan.
I thought it was the other way around.
Well, I don't know which one. I mean, I just call I've gone both back and forth. I've kind of done pecan and I've done pecan.
I love that. That's good. Well, look, obviously we had a little fun with that, and obviously we were talking about in the last radio roundtable what we're thankful for when it comes to the Pelicans. I know, Jim, you want to start us off with just an overall approach here?
Yeah, I guess, JD, I was wondering, at this point in the season, fortunately we haven't really run into this very much where you're 10 games under 500 and as we go into Thanksgiving. But, I mean, what do you see as the outlook in terms of day-to-day? Are you looking at the standings? Are you avoiding the standings like a plague? How do you see kind of the...
Yeah, I really avoid the standings until late in the season because, early in the season first, you kind of get a false sense one way or the other. And then with the Pelicans, with this spate of injuries that seems to be historic, It's hard to judge this team by one loss because you look at it and you say, okay, how many games can they legitimately win with this roster in the NBA? And that's not a slight to the guys who are out there busting their tails. That's just a fact.
Right.
You know, so you look out there and you're saying, okay, some games you're missing 6 of your top 8. Some games you're missing your top 8. And it's like, how competitive can this team be? Which they've been very competitive in several games. But when you're talking about missing the quality of players that they're missing, and now you're talking about finishing games, then everything totally changes. And this team, we have to remember, didn't always finish great when they had the players. So now when you don't have guys who are out there who are unaccustomed to being in this position, now you think, well, who's going to finish? And if it's a guy who hadn't done it before, and not many of these guys have, and a lot of these guys, hadn't played together before this season, a lot of these guys probably should be walking around with "my name is" tags. And so now it's suddenly, my expectations were skyrocketed at the beginning of the season because I was like, this team's got to win a playoff series or this won't be a good season. And now it's like, man, breaking even or getting 2 games over 500, with what they started with is like, when you're 11 games under, that's a big, big ditch to dig out of. Even though you've got, 50, 60 games left, that's a big ditch to dig out of. So, it'll be interesting to see how this team does play together because you're getting pieces returning, but you still got to get the chemistry back together. You got to get these guys' stamina back together. There's so many things that factor in that you just, I've tempered my expectations and I've just said, let's just see them get healthy and then let's see what happens along the course of the season because you're going to need some of those 6-2 stretches and 7-3 stretches just to get back to 500.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. And it's likely that's not going to happen overnight either. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some patience. Unfortunately, our patience has already been tested with, just the horrible luck that has happened so far. For people, I think I'm kind of with you, JD, in terms of I try not to look at the standings. I try not to look at how far back they are from 10th place. I have to say I'm not as strong as being able to constantly do that. I definitely slip up from time to time and look at that. But, I'm hoping that for people like us, though, that are trying to not look too much at the standings, that soon it'll be okay. It'll be safe to look at the standings. And I think part of that, obviously, Dejounte Murray is expected to play tonight. Just having him back, they're undefeated with him in the lineup at 1-0 from the game against Chicago where he looked really good. But, what kind of impact do you think that he can make both – immediately as well as, over the course of the short term?
Well, he gives you a great perimeter defender, which this team needs, and especially without Herb Jones. He gives you that. And look, he's a legit point guard. And we've seen just from Elfrid Payton what can happen if you have a legitimate NBA point guard. And no slight to Elfrid, who had 21 assists in his last game, which is phenomenal. But Dejounte Murray is a better player than Elfrid Payton. And so, this is a fantastic luxury for this team to have with Dejounte coming back and having Elfrid Payton on the roster. And now it's like, okay, not for a team that didn't have any point guards, now you got 2 NBA point guards. So now you've got guys who can create for hopefully themselves and their teammates. Now, of course, the caveat to this is always, you don't get 21 assists unless your teammates make shots, right? So they got to make you right when you do the right thing. But to have guys who can put you in position to make them right, who can continually, hopefully, get you open looks, continually get you into the offense, and hopefully into something good where you're not starting the offense with 6 seconds left on the shot clock and you're at the timeline. Those things make a difference in this league, just making things easier. And I think Dejounte Murray can do that and will do that for this team. That's one of the reasons they brought him in, because they feel like he can make things easier for the guys on this team.
I'm a lifelong member of the Pass First Point Guard fan club. I feel like our membership has really declined a lot in the last few years, and to the point where, say 5 years ago, when I would say I prefer having a pass first guy over a point guard that, is more shoot first. A lot of people would look at me like I'm crazy, and they would be like, well, where are you going to find that guy? Because there aren't that many around. Whereas I feel like when I first started covering the NBA, if you go back 20 years ago, there was a bunch of those guys, or there was at least maybe half the league was past first guys, which brings us to Elfrid Payton. I mean, how impressed have you been with the way that he's played so far, and just seeing the impact that, it's not just that he's playing well. It seems like it's kind of a ripple effect across the rest of the team.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, now granted, Elfrid Payton's an NBA player. He probably should have been in somebody's organization before the Pelicans picked him up. Having said that, to come in and not necessarily kind of work your way in. I mean, he's tossed into the fire, and he's like, all right, I got this. I've done this before. There's no nervousness here. I'm going to do what I've always done when I played in this league. And let's remember, I mean, there was a stretch when Elfrid played, and it might have been with the Pelicans, I don't know, but he had like a string of triple doubles. So this dude can play. He can play.
Yeah.
He might not be the traditional scorer point guard, as you mentioned, but this dude can play. He can get you set into your offense. He can set up his teammates. You don't get 21 assists by some fluke. I mean, yeah, guys got to make shots, but a lot of those are because he got them in the best possible position to make those shots. So when you have that kind of guy and you're able to get him at this point in the season, and you're able to get him when you are at such a desperate need for such a player, to have him be able to come in and immediately, I mean, it's almost like he walked in off the street and they said, okay, get a jersey and go start. Mm-hmm. And he goes out and goes and starts and plays well. That's hard to do. And that shows Elfrid's professionalism. It shows that the Pelicans scouting department said, you know what, we found a guy, we got a guy, we know a guy, and we're going to bring that guy in. He can fit in. And so, it's a tribute to both sides, because it's really nice, again, to have a guy who is a consummate professional. It's hard to not play for a stretch of time and then go out and execute.
Yeah.
And that's in any sport, and especially when you're talking about the highest level of the sport. To go out and to get 21 assists in a road game, it's like that's something that Elfrid Payton should remember the rest of his life. To be honest, hey man, 3 games into the season when I was after I was on the street, I went back and I got 21 assists.
Yeah.
So that's something you can tell anybody. That's something for your resume right there.
It's funny too, because on one hand, I think, he has a little bit of a quote unquote advantage because he was there for training camp and he was there for preseason a little bit. But on the other hand, a lot of the players that he was with then are on the court now. So it's like, some of that gets wiped away by the fact that some of the players that he's playing with and setting guys up for shots now are guys that weren't even on the roster in the beginning of October. So, he really is, in more ways than one, just kind of picking up from scratch here.
And yesterday, Yves Missi was talking about it after practice, and, Jim and I were listening to him, and it makes sense, right? When you have a guy like that, it becomes contagious. So you go run, right? If you're a guy, you go run, because that ball's going to come your way, and to your point, it's going to be an alley-oop. It's going to be an easy bucket. It's going to be something like that. So when you have a guy that is looking to give you the ball, you kind of have to pay attention, run. And that help create and get rid of the stagnant offense that at times plagues the team?
Jim mentioned it, the pass first point guard. He makes you feel good about movement, because you always feel like there's the possibility I'm going to get the ball in scoring position. Not only am I going to get it in scoring position, he's going to give it to me right at the rim, or he's going to get it to me wide open in the corner, or he's going to find me if I keep moving. And you can get guys, when guys are involved that way, you get a lot more energy, you get a lot more movement, and that helps the offense, because when guys are standing around watching a dude play one-on-one, I don't care how efficient he is doing that. And a lot of times, the efficiency goes down when you do that. But I don't care how efficient he is. His teammates standing around stagnant watching him, and they're like, okay, I want to play too. It's like the kid looking out the window at the other kids in the street. Mm-hmm. It's like, I want to play too.
Yeah.
I want to feel involved too. I want to laugh. I want to high five. I want to be doing all those things too. But when you got a point guard who if we get the rebound, take out running, this dude's going to give it to you. You will get a lot more activity that way than the other way around. And I just think it's as you mentioned, it is contagious. Guys will run when they've got a point guard who'll give it to them.
I think a lot of times, too, it bleeds into everything. It's not just that guys want to run the floor more or guys want to be more active to get to the right spots because they know the ball's coming. It seems like it also can affect the defense as well. Just guys, if they feel like they're part of winning or, a 12-0 run or something like that. I feel like it's something that we see on the defensive end as well as rebounding, just every part of the game. I think anybody that's played understands the concept of when all 5 guys on the court feel like they have a role, that it's just a lot easier to constantly, feel energized and feel like that you're invested in the game instead of if you're playing with a guy who just dribbles 17 times and then takes a one-on-one shot. It's kind of harder to feel like that you're part of the team. You mentioned JD. He had 5 straight triple doubles, Elfrid Payton, in 2019. So the end of that season, I think it was in March. Unfortunately, that season was known for other things, including public trade demands. But I mean, he was a big bright spot towards the end of that year and just showed what he can do. He's had a bunch of other triple doubles in other parts of his career. But yeah, I was impressed by what he did. He was only here for that one season, but I mean, he also had an injury that kept him out for a big chunk of that year, which hurt a lot. So, we talked about briefly. Gus mentioned Yves Missi. I was wondering, I mean, what are we talking about in terms of the upside with this guy? I mean, is it the kind of thing that we should be getting really excited about his future based on just the strides that he's already made? It's funny, I feel like I have to remind myself that he's only 18 games into his rookie year based on some of the stuff we have seen, including what he did in Indiana on Monday.
I am, since I've worked at a newspaper for 20 years, you guys know that, and I was a columnist and all this stuff. So by that virtue, I am a cynic. So I'm trying to temper my enthusiasm for Yves Missi. I'm trying to. But you guys saw him in training camp. I didn't see him. I know he was, and this is supposed to be kind of like I don't want to say a redshirt year, but I mean, it was supposed to be kind of a raw project, and, he's kind of getting his footing and he's figuring out the NBA. Well, look, this dude has figured out some stuff. He knows what his strengths are. I mean, and when they said, he'll defend, he can defend on the perimeter and he'll protect the rim. No lies told, but he has really obviously worked on his game to improve himself and to be in the starting lineup and like be not just in the starting lineup, but I mean, he's pretty critical to what these guys want to do.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so, now you're saying, okay, this is a rookie that you thought you were going to get a redshirt year out of, and you hope to have some improvement. And you're thinking kind of, I don't know if you're thinking Jackson Hayes but you're thinking, okay, it's going to take some work. It's going to be a while. And like the first week, he was like, no, it ain't going to take a while. I'm here to play right now. Now, whatever warts I have, my upside is more positive than my warts. So you're gonna have to play me because I'm gonna give you something when I'm out there. And I tell you what, when he works and he's got to get stronger, and when he develops, just a little 10, 12-foot shot, because he's catching it at the free throw line and people aren't respecting him right now. They're not guarding him. He is improved from the standpoint of he'll put it on the floor now and try to get to the rim. So you see the improvement not from month to month. You see it from like week to week, day to day, game to game.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this guy gets it. He understands it. And so a guy like that, it's hard for me to hold my enthusiasm down because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, this can be, this can be a double guy. This can be a 15, 10, 11 guy who blocks 2.5, 3 shots a game. He's that kind of guy. And so I'm ecstatic that he has panned out the way he has. But more than that, because you never know what you got in a guy until you get the guy in the building. You don't know what kind of work ethic he has.
Right.
You know what his college coach tells you, but you don't know until you get him in the building.
There was something that Dejounte Murray said yesterday, talking about point guards, Jim, when he said you either have it or you don't, being a natural point guard, a natural leader. You're either a shot blocker or you're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That block, John, and again, tempering your enthusiasm, but that block of Miles Turner, I don't think Todd saw the angle. He thought, hey, you kind of blocked it. And then when TV showed the replay, Turner was coming full speed down the lane, cocked back the ball with his right hand, and was coming full force. For me, the strength that it takes with your opposing hand to meet that ball and then swat it, right? So, I mean, that to me, that might be one of the best blocks I've ever seen.
For me, the fact that he challenged, because a lot of guys don't want to be posterized.
He talked about that.
They don't want that embarrassment. And he's like, okay, sometimes I'm going to get dunked on, and sometimes I'm going to get him, and sometimes I'm going to get got. Well, this time I got him. And every now and then when you block shots at that, when you go after every shot, you're going to get got sometimes. But man, it was like he actually went after that. He knew what was coming and said, you know what? I'm going anyway. And that's the kind of guy that will infuse the defense, and people are looking around, his teammates are looking around like, oh, it's like that. Now we all got to play at that level, because he's like, I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed to be embarrassed. I got no fear. When you see a dude coming at you like that and you got that kind of attitude, I don't care who he is, I'm going after this shot. That can permeate through the entire team.
It's funny because this is something that I think people around the league have started to talk about more the last few years. If you look at all the positions in the NBA, center seems to be the one that is the most international heavy at this point.
Yes.
If the biggest chunk of guys at any position definitely is center. And I think there's a lot of things that American basketball is trying to evaluate in terms of how do we go forward with developing guys. I think one of the parts of the seminar for American big guys should be don't pay attention to social media, because I feel like that's part of I love Eve's attitude in terms of I don't care if I get dunked on, because there's going to be times where it happens. If you want the 6 highlight block shots, you're going to get the 2 or 3 times where somebody dunks on me. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're more than happy with that. I think guys can be too invested in, too worried about like how things look. It just doesn't seem like he cares. I don't know if that's because of his upbringing or his background or whatever.
I see people laughing at Rudy Gobert all the time. And Rudy Gobert gets dunked on pretty regularly. But Rudy Gobert blocks more than his fair shot.
Right.
More than his fair share, because he's going after every shot. That's what you're supposed to do as a big. That's what you're supposed to do. If you're a rim protector, protect the rim. You don't protect your reputation. You protect the rim.
And Defensive Player of the Year seems to pay very well in,
yes,
in,
it does.
in the NBA
Yes, it does.
So.
Business decisions. That's true. Because it's true. Because he was asked about that. About like sometimes we see people make business decisions, and he said, and it goes to the mindset, right? And again, you either are this kind of player, or you're not, John. I can try to get you to go practice as much as you want, but either a player is hungry or he's not. And you mentioned you can see the improvement because he's putting in the work. Coach is saying this guy's in there putting in the work. But to me, it was the mindset he spoke about yesterday, Jim, after practice, when he said, even if I alter the shot, maybe he misses it. Maybe him knowing that I'm going to jump in that direction to try to block it, it might make him miss it. And, John, we've seen that. We've actually seen that. I know the block is a stop on an offensive play, but how many times have we seen Pels players avoiding or leaving a teardrop short because there's a shot blocker involved? I love the fact that guy is 17, 18 games in and understands that already. He may not touch the ball. He may commit a foul. He may get dunked on. But he's letting the league know, you come in, I'm going to jump to try to block the ball, and that's going to pay dividends.
Well, you think about it the next time. If you're Miles Turner, even if you get that dunk, the next time you come, you're like, oh, where is he? Where is he? Because I know he's coming after me. So maybe you don't try to dunk the next time. His teammates look at that, and they're thinking, where is Messi? Where is he? Because he is a shot blocker. So everybody has in the back of their minds, when Yves Messi is on the court, I got to be aware of, if I get close to the rim, he's probably somewhere around here, and I need to have one eye out for him. And it changes the complexion of things. We've seen it. When the Pelicans play, when you're playing a shot blocker, people think about that guy. You think about him. I don't care what you say. When you're playing Cleveland, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, you're thinking about those dudes. You're like, where are they? Is he around the rim? Oh, I see him at the rim. Okay, now all of a sudden I might not go in with with as much force as I wanted to. I might have to try to teardrop this one over him. I got to get it up on the glass quickly. I got to I got to pull up from 10 feet instead of getting all the way to the rim. It makes a difference.
Yeah, and you can't measure stuff like that in the stats. I mean, there's starting to be more like shooting percentage when this guy's guarding the rim, stats like that. But, I mean, a lot of that stuff goes undetected because there's no stat for a guy took a 12-foot floater instead of getting all the way to the basket. So, yeah, I think that is really valuable. Gus, one of the things that you said made me think of when you were talking about business decisions, guys making business decisions. You know how in a lot of locker rooms, I'm sure this might be the case in the NFL as well, but for NBA, they have those posters up on the wall that give you like what supplements you can't take, or they have like the gambling.
The no list.
I think we should be able to, we should go across the NBA, put up posters that say, you think it's something like, you think this is a good business decision, and it's got a picture, and then the picture next to it is Rudy Gobert getting dunked on, but then the picture next to that is Rudy Gobert holding up a giant check for like $200 million. And it just to kind of emphasize the point that it's not necessarily a great business decision if you're not getting those blocks, because look what it's done for Mr. Gobert.
Yeah, I mean, people laugh at him and they make fun of him. You see on social media all the time, and it's like, yeah, but Rudy Gobert is filthy, nasty, ugly rich. I mean, he has made generations of wealth by blocking shots.
Right.
So there's something to this. Yeah, every now and then he gets posterized, and he might get he might get posterized twice in the same game. You know, that same game he might block 4 shots.
Right.
So that's +2 for Rudy Gobert to me, and I just don't understand the whole temperament of, he got posterized. Yeah, but his team won, and he blocked 4 shots, and he controlled the paint otherwise. So what's the big deal here?
And he sees your tweets mocking him for getting dunked on and throws another $1,000 into his fireplace as he warms up in the tough Minneapolis winter.
Yes, so tough for sure. All right, let's wrap up with this, JD. The month of December, we talked about this, right? We should have most of the Pels back. Okay, we're going to wait to see when Herb Jones is going to come, but Dejounte Murray coming in, that's going to be great to see. We'll see where Zion is as well. Month of December, though, 11 games, 5 straight to end the month. 7 of 11 are home, with those first 2 on the road in the month of December being back-to-backs in this 3-game road trip that's ending this week. So for the most part, you're home in December. Last year, Pels played well on the road. Look, I kind of look at this, home and road last year. This different team, different players don't have it. If you have the most of your contingent of good players, starters back, that month of December, am I nuts to think you got to win 5 of those 7 games at home?
No.
I mean, 7 total?
Home should be more friendly to you, whoever is on the roster. But certainly when you get back key players, then that should helpfully boost you, the home court and the home crowd and all those kind of good things, the adrenaline that you get from that. So you already have C.J. McCollum back, 23 points, Mr. President. Nice showing coming back. So you get Dejounte Murray back. Herb Jones will be back at some point in time. But if you've got Trey Murphy, you got C.J. McCollum, you got Dejounte Murray, you hopefully have Brandon Ingram, you got Yves Missi. That's 5. Okay, that's a good 5. Now you don't have Jose Alvarado, and you don't have Herb Jones yet, and you don't have, Zion, but that's a good foundation to where you can get something started. You can get a spark out of that. And that's what you have to do if you're the Pelicans. You can't look beyond what you have. You're at the point now where all this, and I get it, but waiting on Zion, hey man, just pretend he's not coming back. Just put in your mind we ain't gonna have him. Put in your mind whoever you don't have, that you don't have like a definitive concrete timeline on, you're just not gonna have. So get ready, strap up, and go play. And so I think they have enough now to win. They had enough to win Monday night in Indy, and had enough to win in the last home game here. Was Golden State, where Trey, you get the now a lot of things had to work out in their favor at the end of the game, but they created their own opportunities and their own fate in that one. It was like, we're on the radio saying, man, a lot of things got to happen here. You got to get a turnover, you got to get a dot, you can't foul. Well, you know what? They did every one of them. So, they made their own luck in that one. Unfortunately, you don't come up with the shot, but you got the turnover, and you got as clean a look from the guy that you wanted to take that shot. And so you live with that. So now you get more parts back. Now you got more chances to create your own opportunities and your own fate. And so hopefully that'll fall in place with this team. So, winning 5 out of 7 at home, I don't think that's unreasonable, because you will be a little bit more whole, and hopefully the chemistry will jump back in pretty quickly, but you'll be a lot more whole, and your depth is improved because now, if Elfrid Payton ain't starting, he's coming off the bench. Look, Elfrid Payton looks like a starter in the NBA. He doesn't look like a guy who ought to be coming off the bench. So you got him off the bench. You got Brandon Boston, who started a ton of games coming off the bench. You got Dejounte Green. So you got some depth now. You should be able to hopefully make a little hay.
Yeah, he's got to make some run here. I forgot, Jim, the Emirates Cup week. There's going to be one more home game, one more road game added. So 8 total at home out of 13, but that's still the point. If you want to make a run, you want to get back into this, Jim, the month of December, you're basically home. You basically have some days in between games to practice. I know Coach wants to get that practice in, and when you got players that haven't played together a lot with the infusion of the starters, this seems like the month to get your stuff together, if I'm saying it politely.
I mean, there's another part of this, too, is that during that block of 10 days where they have 2 games that we don't know yet, there's only 2 games in 10 days. I mean, you have a bunch of time where you're going to be able to practice. And I know they didn't get the advantage of this last year because they were in the semifinals. And that week that was quiet for the rest of the league, they were very busy. It really wasn't a break at all. So, I mean, hopefully that's another thing that they can capitalize on. And I think they're going to need it if they keep getting guys back from injury. I mean, you almost can run another training camp or a mini version of that. So
I was going to say, my terminology was going to be it's almost a rotation practices. In other words, like have competitions, have scrimmages. Who wants to be in the rotation? Because to your point, you can have some depth.
Yeah.
All right, so let's have these practices. Who's going to be my backup point guard? Who's going to be the 6th or 7th guy off the bench? Yeah. Go prove it out there.
Practice hard, but not too hard because we don't want anybody to get hurt.
On that note, that's all the time we have for John DeShazier. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for sharing some Thanksgiving ideas here as well. And you know what? I know he may not feel it, but we're thankful to have you part of the team.
Hey, I am always thankful to be part of this team and really a part of this organization when I think about it because there's a lot worse things to be doing than watching
100%, yes. No doubt. Get to see you guys every day. Appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys.
All right, y'all. Now it's time for Western Conference Wednesday. Mr. Eichenhofer will tell us whose stock is up and whose stock is down. So let's get started. Jim, what is our team to keep an eye on for this week?
Well, Mallory, the team to watch over the next 7 days is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're 13-4 overall right now. And once again, Gus, it's not difficult to find schedules where you're just amazed at how tough the slate is. So over the next 7 days, tonight the Thunder are playing at Golden State on ESPN. Friday they're at the Lakers on ESPN, which is a huge NBA Cup game as well. Sunday they're at the Houston Rockets, who've been playing extremely well. And then Tuesday it's a little bit of a lighter game. They host Utah. But I mean, 3 games on the road here: Warriors, Lakers, Houston. Curious to see how Oklahoma City will do. I mean, so far they're off to a great start. They've had very few, games, clunker games, but should be fun to see, especially them against the Warriors as 2 of the best teams in the West so far. By the way, too, the team to watch last week was Portland Trailblazers. They went 1-3, but I'm going to give them a B- because 1-3 doesn't sound great, but if you think about that, they did split 2 games in Houston. They had losses to Oklahoma City and Memphis. A couple of those losses, too, were by big margins. But, I mean, not bad to go 1-3 against that kind of competition.
Right.
In terms of stock up, I got to go with the San Antonio Spurs. They went 3-0 over the last 7 days. They're now 10-8, which I believe is – I thought I saw on NBA TV they mentioned that's the first time – or on TNT, first time that they've been 2 games over 500 in several years because obviously the last few years they've had a losing record. They're 10th place in the West right now. They had a great win from behind against Golden State on Saturday. Other than that, they beat Utah twice. But nonetheless, for them to go from 7-8 to now 10-8 and in play-in tournament position, really good span for the Spurs. Stock down, there's actually a couple really good candidates for this. I went with the Sacramento Kings. They went 0-3. They're now 8-10, which is 4 games ahead of the Pelicans in the standings. They lost to the Clippers, the Nets, and the Thunder. The other team that I considered, but their schedule was a little bit tougher, was the Timberwolves. They're on a losing streak as well, but one of those losses was to Boston, so you kind of, and by 2 points, a game that they almost won at the buzzer with a 3-point shot that missed and was also slightly after the horn. So a couple of those teams that have really struggled lately. And, by the way, too, my dream for team to watch, and I hope to fulfill this sometime in the near future, is for it to be, instead of so generally related to the Western Conference, more related to, okay, this is a team that the Pelicans are chasing, and this is a team that the Pelicans have gotten within a game or two of, and so it's important to watch their games over the next week. We're not there yet, Gus, but hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully that it will be a nice sign of things to come. But you got to start with one game at a time, and you heard that at practice yesterday. That it can seem overwhelming. You heard it from John DeShazier. Look, you got so many games you have to win out of 10, and it does. When you start thinking like that, you start going, do you have a shot? So you have to do the old 1-0.
Yeah, maybe I'm, like I said earlier, I'm not going to be able to keep myself from looking at the standings, but maybe if I wait for like a 3 or 4 game winning streak and then look at the standings, maybe that would be the best way to go about it.
Yeah, let's see what takes place. Mr. Jim Eichenhofer, Jim_Eichenhofer. I cannot wait to see him tonight with one of those brand new Pelican City Edition plush hats.
Ooh, I forgot about that.
Oh,
yes,
you better go get yourself one.
That's right.
Gotta go get yourself one. That's going to be cool. That'll be your gift if you come over to check out the game against the Raptors. No podcast on Friday. Jim's got things to do. He's a very important man. So we will see you back on Monday. And when that happens, is that the month of December?
It is. I do have something important Friday to do, and that is join you for the watch party at Wrought Iron. So,
yes.
Yeah. Don't mislead the people into thinking that I'm leaving my duties. I still have something very important to do on Friday.
I forgot to tell everybody about that. Yes, come on out to the Wrought Iron official watch party. When I say official, that means Pierre will be there, Pel Squad members will be there, goodies will be there, like legit good stuff. Like T-shirts and koozies and like really cool official Pelicans merch.
I'm going to get my hands on some of that stuff, too.
So come on out there before Jim and Aaron and everybody else takes them. No, look, come on out. We'll be there at Wrought Iron. The game's at 4 o'clock. It's a 4 o'clock tip. So it's perfect. You can kind of do like that late afternoon. You still got the night to go do stuff. So coming out to Wrought Iron. We'll be there 4 o'clock, the official Corona watch party of your New Orleans Pelicans. Until then, we'll see you again on Monday on the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast. Join us 3 times per week on Pelicans.com, the Pelicans mobile app, the iHeartRadio app, or where you get your podcasts. And be sure to give Jim and Gus a follow on X at Jim_Eichenhofer and GCat_17. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Pelicans Podcast.